Bearded Bear Podcast. Welcome back. It is your boy Mike Reese, along with me as always, Angelo Pasquinelli.
Yo, what's
How
up,
you
everybody?
feeling?
I'm great. I'm great. How about you?
Uh, Surprisingly optimistic. I talked myself into this optimism, and I hate doing it, but it's the life of a Bears fan, and we'll get into that later. But starting off today, actually, we're gonna do something a little different, introduce a new segment that we don't have a name for yet. But most surprising and most disappointing. So we want to keep the entire NFL incorporated in the show as well. It is a Bears podcast, but we're also NFL fans at the end of the day. So always good to just sprinkle in and talk a little bit about the rest of the NFL. And this was your idea, so I'm gonna let you take the floor, man. Who's been the most surprising and most disappointing for you in the first 3 weeks?
All right. So my most surprising player, it's weird because it's not on the offensive side of the ball, but I'm gonna go Myles Garrett, and I know that he can wreck a game. And everybody talks about the J.J. Watts and the T.J. Watts and stuff like that, but this guy can take over a game like nobody's. I mean, you game plan to stop this guy and he's still in the backfield. That's crazy to me. And to me, that's a big reason why the Browns are actually even in it. And then my most disappointing, and it could be a lot of people's, is Garrett Wilson. And unfortunately, he suffers from the Aaron Rodgers injury. But last year, he also had a great year, and Zach Wilson was his quarterback. So
Yeah.
I think that something isn't gelling between the two of them. It could just be because Zach Wilson isn't that good of a quarterback. But unfortunately, Garrett Wilson is very disappointing this year for me.
Wow. You took my disappointing for sure. But I agree with you 100% on that. Garrett Wilson was already looked at even before the Aaron Rodgers trade as one of the best young, honestly elite wide receivers in the NFL.
Big time.
So for him to take this second year leap, it was almost a given, you know. So he's been, like you said, he suffers from the Zach Wilson mediocrity and Aaron, I'm sure that plays a huge part into it, like the whole timing and rhythm,
Yeah.
all that. But um, those are some good picks right there. My most surprising, so I had two options. One, what I would say Michael Parsons, but I'm not choosing him because we know how great he is
Yeah.
already.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a game changer from day one.
Right. Right.
So I'm gonna go Tua.
Yeah. I like that pick.
A lot of people have been down on Tua. I think Tua is a good quarterback. The concussions, the arm strength were his downfalls, but we always knew that he was a pretty accurate passer. He was quick decision making. And now that he's been healthy through these first 3 games, another year in Mike McDaniel's system, you can argue he's the best quarterback in the league right now.
I mean,
If you
in all honesty, his first 3 games this year are identical to his first 3 games last year, like stat wise. So, yeah, I mean, he is.
Yeah, and they're rolling. Obviously, they just put 70 on our upcoming opponent, which is one of the greatest, if not the greatest, offensive performance in NFL history.
Yep.
History.
Should have kicked.
MVP right now.
Should have kicked that field goal, man.
Yeah, that would make a difference for sure. And most disappointing outside of the Bears, obviously, and Justin Fields, that would be my pick. But even outside of that, most disappointing for me has to be Kenny Pickett. And the reason I say that is because based off of his preseason hype, and last year he was a rookie, but they were competitive. They 500 record. You were expecting him to kind of take a big leap. I mean, he's not that big of a factor anymore, but Allen Robinson, George Pickens, Najee Harris, you heard about the Jalen Warren throughout camp. I was expecting Kenny Pickett to kind of come out guns blazing, not 300, 400 yards passing, but definitely looking better and more efficient than he has so far.
I agree with that. I like that. And then we also want to talk about a player that we think might have a breakout game. Like most people like to say, they're going to ball out, right? So for me,
Yeah.
I think where am I at? Jacksonville plays Atlanta. I don't necessarily like Atlanta's defense. I don't think they're that good. I think they keep getting lucky, and they run the ball a lot, so Desmond Ridder doesn't have to throw. I think that Travis Etienne is going to ball out this weekend. I think he's going to have a
Travis.
big game. Yep. So if you have him on your fantasy team, you should be starting that guy because I think he's going to go nuts this weekend.
Um, Great choice. I mean, I'm a big ETN fan. I actually have him on 2 of my 3 fantasy teams, so he's been in that starting lineup. I'm not taking him out. Uh, I'm actually going to stay in the game that we're covering, and it might kill me for saying this, but I'm going DJ Moore. Week 2, he had just over 100 yards receiving. I believe it was 6 catches, if I'm not mistaken. But him and PS2, I know PS2 is a hard matchup, but this Denver secondary is horrific.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, all they have is Patrick Surtain. That's pretty much it.
That's it. So if with what's been going on the past 3 weeks, and even last week, he would have been close to that 100 yards if he caught that bomb.
Right.
I'm predicting 10 catches, 165 yards, and a touchdown from DJ Moore this week.
Ooh.
And I'm clipping it and putting it out so they can hold me to it.
Dang. All right, I like that though. I'm cool with that. I mean, I guess on that note, I guess we'll slide into the game.
Yeah.
I think, man, it's crazy having this much optimism for the Bears after what they
Right. Sound insane.
Denver just gave up 70 points. Their defense is garbage. If Justin Fields is going to have a QB1 game, it's going to be this weekend. This is the weekend he would have a QB1 game. So for you to say that about DJ Moore, I don't think that's crazy. I think that can happen. Now, Fields has a bad performance in this game. We're cooked, man. To me, this is the end of Fields. If he doesn't have a good game, this is the end for me.
Okay, so that actually leads us into one of our topics. And the question was just simply, are Fields' days as quarterback 1 numbered? And when I say numbered, I was referring to within these next 4 weeks where you have these beatable opponents coming up. And you are saying if it's a struggle against Denver, that's it.
Yep. I mean, if you can't put up, they should be able to put up 25 or 30 points against Denver. If they can't, I mean, there's a problem and it lies in the coaching. We know that, but some of it's got to do with him. It can't all just be coaching.
Yeah. To answer that or to follow it up, I don't think it's necessarily this game, unless it's just like piss poor performance, like not over 100 yards again and interceptions and that whole ordeal. But there's kind of been a narrative coming out this week, especially from former quarterbacks, Dan Orlovsky and TJ and Kurt Warner, where breaking down the Chiefs film. I kind of feel like this is the first time since the season started that they've kind of been sticking up for Fields. Like on this play, I don't know if you saw the screen record of Jatari Carter getting just straight bulldozed into the back.
Yeah,
and then
that was wild.
You got a lot of plays throughout the game where just receivers aren't open, and he's actually making the right progressions, and there's nothing there, and they're freeze framing. They're like, "What do you want a quarterback to do here?" So I feel like, in a sense, that's kind of like buying him more time. Not saying I agree with it, not saying it's right, but I definitely think at least the next 2 games, Denver and then Thursday against Washington, before that little 10-day bye, and they reevaluate then.
Yeah, I guess I could see that. I mean, I watched all 22, and there were quite a few plays, like you said, like guys were covered, but sometimes most guys they throw the ball anyways. I don't know if being too conservative because he's worried about making a mistake. I don't know if that's the issue, because sometimes he throws the ball right in the middle and there's like 3 guys there. I'm like, why would you throw that ball when you can throw it over the top and at least let maybe DJ Moore or Claypool go after it? And Claypool, for me, he plays too soft. It's, dude, you're a big body. Go up and get the ball. Don't let people push you around. Like, what's going on? I don't know.
And with that being said, there was a lot of I mean, let's get this straight. We can't take anything away from that Chiefs defense. That Chiefs defense is probably top 3. I mean, they held the Lions to technically 14 if it wasn't for the pick six.
Right.
They held the Jags to 9. And now obviously we saw what happened with the Bears. Like the Chiefs are a top 3 defense in the NFL. So that's one. Two, they game plan. They knew what was coming because the offense is very predictable. And those situations, it's very hard to play quarterback. Not to mention when you do give your guys chances, the Claypool bomb, the DJ bomb, they're not making plays for you. So something has to change within this offense where they're just becoming more creative. It can't be either a bubble screen, which there was another 2-and-4 bubble screen last week, or just a random shot play out of a formation that hasn't been ran all game. So it definitely starts at the top, and I think we'll start to see something better. I can't believe I'm even saying that shit after after what we've been seeing, but I'm optimistic, man.
Yeah, I mean, I just think even though Denver's 0-3, I mean, Russell hasn't had bad games. I mean, okay, so they played the Raiders. He threw for 177, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But the last 2 games, he's thrown for over 300 yards. I know Miami's kind of an outlier because you're down by 70. So you're, or whatever, you're down by 50. You're throwing the ball like crazy. But that Washington game that they played in was like 35-33. It was a close game, and he threw for over 300. He had 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. He was sacked 7 times in that game, though, which worries me because the next week we have to play Washington. And if they sack Russ 7 times, they're going to get to Fields probably a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Next week when we jump into that game preview, we remember what Montez did last year on that Thursday night game. It was terrible. But that's what has me concerned about even the Denver game. Like how much did you say he threw for against Washington?
308 was his actual yardage.
So he threw for 308 and 3 touchdowns while getting sacked 7 times, right?
Yeah.
And we have 1 sack as a team in 3 games. Yeah. So if he did that under pressure, that leads us into what we were kind of talking about a little bit. What about this defense? Justin Fields is the topic of conversation. The offense looks terrible. The screens, the bad, all of that shit. But at the end of the day, no matter who you're playing, high school team, if they're moving the ball up and down the field, you don't have a chance anyway.
Yeah, and this is why I have such a huge problem with Eberflus is like you bring him in, he's a defensive-minded guy, right? Williams resigns. Now he's going to start calling the plays, right? As an old defensive coordinator. They do absolutely nothing against the Chiefs, which is what we figured they were going to do. And then in this game coming up, it's just he's going to call the defensive signals again. And this is the guy who wanted to get Roquan out of there because he didn't fit his system. Hey, he doesn't fit my system. I want somebody. Poles is like, what do I got to do? What can I get for you to make your system work? And he goes, this is one of my things I want. These are the guys I'm looking for. You bring all these guys in, and you guys can't even get to the quarterback. 1 sack in 3 games is absolutely ridiculous. And you're a defensive-minded head coach. Go. You're gone, dude. You were gone. Yeah. I mean, he's going to be gone regardless. But will he be gone before the end of the season is the question. Probably not. Like you said last episode, man, the Bears don't do that.
These next 2 games are huge for that, for me. Like you said, like I said last episode, they don't do that. They've never done that in the history of the Chicago Bears. But I feel like times are so different now with Kevin Warren, with call it whatever you want, destroying the talent of the most talented quarterback we've ever had. And now, like you said, we traded off Roquan, who was a solid staple in that defense since he got here. We traded off Robert Quinn, who's in the Bears record books for sacks, for these guys. And we spend all this money, supposed to have more talent, and it looks terribly worse. So I'm not saying that they will do it, but I can see it happening if, let's say, Denver goes out there, puts up what they score against Washington? 35.
Yeah, 35.
I'll say they put up 35 on us, and then Washington, who just looked terrible against Buffalo, puts up 30. You don't think going into those 10 days off, they're like, we gotta make a change, man?
I don't know, because how much control does Ryan Poles actually have, or is it all got to do with the McCaskies? Because if there's somebody who's like, hey, we don't fire people during the season, what are we going to do then? I don't know. You just temporarily promote someone because everyone's going to get fired at the end of the year anyways. So to make the fans happy, you get rid of a guy who's literally, if they lose the next two games, what will they be, like 3-25 or something like that?
Yeah.
I mean, something's got to give. Come on, man. I mean, I still think, like you said, I think Fields is going to have a decent game, but he's also been sacked 13 times already in 3 games. That's ridiculous.
That's
That's how you get hurt.
Yeah. Which we saw last week. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw that last week, but the same goes for somebody like Joe Burrow, right? That's why he tore his ACL, because his offensive line couldn't hold up and they kept getting to him. And we don't want that to happen to Fields.
Yeah.
Because you tear an ACL as a runner, you never really know if you'll ever get that dynamic portion of you back. And if that's part of what makes him successful, he's going to have a hard time when he comes back.
Now, with that being said, what are some things that you're looking forward to against Denver on Sunday as far as coaching adjustments? Obviously, we want to see the players perform. We want to see Fields have a good game. We want to see the defense get off the field on third downs, even though they're giving it up at a 60% clip right now. For me, I would say those are the two things as far as the players that I want to see improved on Sunday. But what do you want to see from the coaching staff?
Well, I want to see the halftime adjustments, because we all know Bill Belichick's a perfect example, right? He goes in at halftime, he changes a bunch of stuff. They come out and they kind of play differently. I want to see something like that. Don't go in at halftime and say, hey, the run's really not working for us. Let's just keep running it. Hey, this stunt that we're running up the middle keeps getting blocked. Let's keep running this stunt up the middle to see if we can get pressure. Change something. Bring some blitzes. Bring a corner off the edge. Bring a safety down. Switch up the way your defense is being ran or the way your offense is being ran, because if you guys only have 3 points in the first half and they have 21, that's game. That's game already, because we can't score. We can't move the ball. So you got to be able – I guess I'm looking at every half as it's 0-0. So even if we're down in the second half, come out and put a good half of football together for me. That's really what I want to see from the coaching staff. I think the problem is they're thinking about it so much that, hey, we're down by 35, we're down by 40. Like, no, man, the game's already over at that point. Put together a good drive. Let's start there. Put together a good drive, and then see if you can put together a second drive that's good. Can you stop this team on third down? Don't give up another third down. Okay, you stopped them. Can you do it again the next drive? That's what I want to see from the coaches. They got to change the way that they're calling the plays.
So to play devil's advocate off of that, that's kind of been the beef with a lot of the fans with Matt Eberflus, is he kind of takes that approach of just, oh, we're close. That's what we've been hearing all week. We're close. We're close. We're close. So if he was talking to you and you're like, hey, I don't care if you're down 35-10. I just want to see a good drive. Isn't that kind of like enabling it's giving him a way out, like he can come based off of last week. Like, yo, we scored 10 points in the fourth. They didn't score at all. We got 2 takeaways. It's like, yeah, but you also lost by 35,
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I guess as a fan, that's what I want to see. Not so much like Eberflus, because we know Eberflus is cooked, man. He's not going to. If he is there next year, I will be on this show wearing something completely different. No Bears gear. I'm a different fan talking about Bears, though. But it's just, I don't know if I can wrap my head around it. Like as a fan, I just want to see them play good for once.
For once.
I feel like they give you this. I know, isn't it? they give you this hope that it always seems like in the offseason, they have a good offseason. You're like, oh, dude, they're going to be good. And then they suck. And then when they're supposed to suck, they come out and they play well. And you're like, damn, we might actually be good. And then the cycle repeats itself.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So you're saying Eberflus is cooked regardless, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Let me throw a scenario at you right now.
All right, let's hear it.
We have Broncos, Washington, Minnesota, Raiders. Next 4 games. They win all 4.
Wild.
We're living in a different world right now. They win all 4. The final week of the regular season, which is the week after Christmas, they're in a situation where if they win and let's say get help, they make the playoffs. Is Eberflus still gone?
You're starting to sound like Fields now.
Didn't
he say we got 14 left? Isn't that what he said?
At least.
I guess in that scenario, no, he's not. He's not. They haven't really showed us anything to make us think they're going to change, though.
Yeah.
I guess that's why I think he's cooked, right? Now, if they come out against Denver and they win 35-0, and then they go and they play Washington and they win, 28-21, they're winning pretty convincingly, let's say, then they're showing me that they're able to change stuff. And if Fields' play gets better, everything hinges on Fields, really, because even if the defense is giving up points and he can still drive them down, they can score. It's Fields' show, really. So yeah. I think that's why I think he's cooked, because they can't move the ball right now.
So in this same different reality world we're living in, even if we do lose out, not lose out, that would be crazy. Even if we win like 4 or 5 games, but Fields is putting up 30 points, 27 points a game, even at that point, is he still gone?
I think Eberflus is gone.
So if you get rid of Eberflus, you have to get rid of Getty.
Yeah. I think Getty is. This is my opinion. I think Getty got lucky because Aaron Rodgers was his quarterback, and that's why he's in this position that he's in right now. I don't really think. I mean, look at a guy like Mike McDaniels, what he dials up.
Yeah.
Getsy's not doing that. I know he doesn't have all the same personnel. He doesn't have the 4 fastest guys in the league, but there isn't any trickery or any different designs. It's
just not innovative.
Right. Like, hey, let's line up in shotgun and read the defense. Yeah. Well, Justin hasn't had as many reps as a guy like Aaron Rodgers, and that's part of the problem. He can't read the defense as well yet. He will. He's smart. He's not stupid. We know that he's smart and he can make good decisions. He just needs more reps, but he can't keep getting reps where he's getting his ass kicked, unfortunately. That's going to be for him.
I rewatched that Miami game because I didn't watch it live. But just watching the way that they use motion, I saw a stat today that they use motion 76% of the time before pre-snap.
Right.
And just watching the way, there's like a play going around on Twitter that's like kind of viral right now. They had like Tyreek coming on a jet sweep, faked it to him, and then I forgot which back it was, ran like a counter, and then the lineman like faked the jet sweep with Tyreek and then came back with the count. It was just like, it was beautiful. It's like, this is a real play with a real design. If Gessie was dialing it up like that and we're still looking terrible, there's nothing you can say at that point.
Right. We just don't have the talent.
Right.
At that point, we just need to get more talent. But what does motion do? Motion lets you see what the defense is going to do. You can tell if it's cover. You can tell if it's Tampa 2. You can tell if it's man. You can tell if they're going to blitz usually because the motion's running around. So it helps. It won't necessarily give away the defense, but it helps you read it better. So if you're not using motion, the guys are just going to stand there, and then you don't know that this lineman's going to drop back and this linebacker is going to come through, and their offensive line just can't handle it anyways. Like you said about that clip where he got bull rushed to the back of, almost into Justin Fields.
Yeah.
They just can't. They just can't handle it, man. They don't have the talent on the offensive line.
And even motion is taking the eyes of the defense, and they're looking, and they might stay in their same base or whatever they're in, but just even taking their eyes off of, let's say, the ball for 1 second, and you snap, that's an extra second you have now before that rush gets to you. And the way this line has been, and the way, honestly, I don't know if it's Fields taking too long to read or if he's just literally gun shy. Because all of the analysis that I've seen from former players and people who do this day in and day out, they're like, he's making the right reads, but he's just not throwing it. Or he's making the right reads and they ran the wrong route. Like, it's amazing to me how literally everything is going bad.
All of it. It's like all going. Like if he's making the right reads and he's not throwing it, then he could be gun shy. And if he's gun shy, that's not what you want from your quarterback.
No.
What made him that way? I have no idea because he wasn't that way last year. He seemed like, he'd throw it pretty much anywhere, even if there was defenders there. That's why he got picked off, quite often. But he also wasn't scared. I feel like he's scared to run too. I don't know if his coaches are saying, hey, don't run the ball. We don't want you to get hurt. So I don't know if he's taking his 3-step drop back and he's thinking like, hey, don't run. Look for DJ Moore. Oh, DJ Moore's
sacked.
Right. And right. He's sacked. Or he's in shotgun and he's like, okay, first progression, he's covered, second progression, third. Oh shit. And he just starts running around because he doesn't have time.
Yeah.
I mean, they say he's holding the ball for 4 seconds. So he needs to snap the ball and throw it out. But some of them guys aren't open. You're going to throw picks that way too.
Yeah. And this is jumping way forward. Obviously, I hope it doesn't even come to this, but the writing is kind of on the wall. But with Caleb Williams, I've been tuning into USC games just to see. And honestly, he holds the ball a long time too.
He does.
Like a very long time.
He does.
Hell, Patrick Mahomes holds the ball for a long time. That was him and Fields are 1 and 2.
Yeah. There's that. That was a wild stat because it showed that Justin Fields threw like 2 touchdowns. Mahomes has got like 14 or something like that.
Yeah.
For 4 seconds, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you that like holding the ball really isn't what you're supposed to do. You can make it work. But I mean, Fields, when he runs, when he scrambles, he wants to scramble forward. And when Mahomes scrambles, he's like Rodgers, where he's got his eyes downfield and he's running around. He doesn't really want to run. He wants to find the open guy. That's at least the way I think of it.
Yeah, he scrambles to pass for sure. That's kind of how like Russ was in his prime, and even Caleb Williams is like that too as well. But you can make the argument that, well, that's what makes Fields special because those guys can run to throw for 40-yard gain. He can run, take off, and you have Detroit part 2 on your hands. To me, that part of it doesn't matter necessarily. It's more so within the offense, his passing ability that just has me so frustrated because his arm talent is there. And I know he's smart.
I think what bothers me is like we saw what Lamar can do, and I think he's better than Lamar. I think he can be better than Lamar. That's why I'm like, dude, if Lamar can do it and he's not even that accurate really all the time, I'm like, dude, Justin Fields could be MVP. He could literally be an MVP. So something's going wrong there.
Lamar's MVP season is like one of the greatest seasons of all time. I don't have his numbers like right in front of me, but it was like insane. It was like 33 touchdowns to 6 interceptions and 1,000 yards running. But even with Lamar, like they haven't won shit. He hasn't done anything in the playoffs.
Right. Well, he gets hurt like a lot, honestly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, good for him that he got paid because, like, you never know when your last down's going to be. But he just, like, can't stay healthy a lot of times. That whole team, like, all their running backs get hurt every year. At least we don't have people on our team getting hurt constantly. So they're like
Quan Brisker.
Yeah. Well, they're all though. I guess the offensive line they get hurt a lot. So they need to go out. I think this offseason and find like a stud offensive lineman and pay him some money, man. Who cares? Pay him whatever he wants. Don't if it's like an Orlando Brown situation, like, hey, we can get Orlando Brown, or we can let this other team get him for an extra $10 million. Pay him 15 extra. We need someone on that line like that. And I think Wright will end up being a pretty solid, if not above average, offensive lineman. He just doesn't have anybody else to make him so you can see what he's doing good. Because while you're trying to watch him, you're seeing someone else getting into the backfield already, and you're like, damn, like that was pointless. He held that block for 5 seconds, but this dude's already on Justin Fields.
Yeah.
So
So going back to the game, let's get some predictions and give me one bold take from each side of the ball.
I think that this will be Roshan Johnson's coming out party. I think he is going to have a monster game, and that'll only help. That's only going to help Fields. I know they want to run it a lot, but I think that he'll have over 100 yards and a couple scores. Defensively, man, I don't know. I really want to see. I want to see Stevenson on one of these guys, whether it's Cortland Sutton or Jerry Jeudy, and how he is on because they have a pretty good 1-2 punch at wide receiver. I want to see how he plays against big body type guys. I've been watching him, and he's been giving up. He had a rough time against Mike Evans, but Mike Evans is a dog. Like he's these other guys are like a step below Mike Evans. I think that Stevenson will be a really good cornerback for the Bears. He's just having a tough time his rookie year because he's got no help.
Yeah.
Is
he playing?
Oh, I don't know. Is he out?
He might be game time decision.
Okay.
From concussion. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'd like to see him. And, I always like watching Brisker, but
yeah.
Yeah. I'd like to see some pressure from the offensive line or defensive line at some point.
Yeah.
You win and lose games is in the trenches. That's why we suck.
Yeah. So my bold prediction for offense is they will score 25 plus. I'll say that. I wanted to put an exact number on it, but I'm just not there yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to say 25 plus offensively they score. And on defense, I think I had said this last week too, but I'm sticking with it. I think this week they actually do get 3 sacks on Russ. Regardless, I don't know who it is. I mean, at the press conference today, Eberflus said, they still want to get pressure with 4, but if they got to send 5 or 6, then so be it. Like, duh, you should have did that shit 20 games ago. But I think like now he will actually do that. Denver's line isn't nowhere near as good as Kansas City's or even Tampa's or Green Bay's, to be honest. So you should be able to get home with pressure. 3 sacks. And for a game prediction, I'm going 28-24 Bears.
Wow. Well, my game prediction is gonna go more 35-21 Broncos, unfortunately.
Wow.
Yeah. I still think Fields has a decent day, but I just am afraid that they can't get pressure on Russ. And if Russ is throwing for 300 yards the last 2 games, he's kind of on a hot streak. Russ disappeared for a while, but I feel like he's on his way back, even though Denver's really not that good. I still think Russ can play. He can ball. So,
yeah.
Unfortunately, too, you got to worry about, like you said, Patrick Surtain. You got to worry about him.
Yeah.
Well, if he takes away a whole side of the field, let's say he's covering DJ Moore, and DJ Moore can't get the ball because he's covered all day, you're going to have some problems because there ain't very many other playmakers wide receiver-wise on that field.
Yeah, of right now, yeah.
And start using Cole Kmet, man. Why don't we use him like Travis Kelce? He needs to get in that soft part of the defense and catch those 8-yard little hook catches,
If Fields has to throw him.
That's true. That is true. But, I feel like we don't use him enough like that.
Yeah.
So you paid the guy. You might as well use him that way. See what he can do. I know that he can play. It'd be a sad day in Chicago if he goes somewhere else, kind of like what happened with Olsen. He leaves and starts balling somewhere else. Then you'd be like, man, why'd they get rid of him? Because they don't know how to use him.
It seems like we say that with everybody.
Yeah,
So
right.
35-21. I mean, I'm not mad at you. I'm honestly mad at myself for talking myself into this point. I came a long way from Sunday, but I'm giving them one more chance, man. I'm giving them one more chance to see if they could fix this thing before these 4 games coming up. Because honestly, you could change your entire season in this, what is the next 10 days alone.
Oh
You
yeah.
got Denver Sunday, Washington Thursday. You win both of those games and go into your 10-day break, fix whatever you need to fix, get some guys healthy. I'm not going no farther than that.
Right. I
But
mean, you haven't played Minnesota, and you haven't played Detroit yet. And I mean, those are games that if you win those games, you're right back in the division.
yeah.
You know, so you're right. You are right. Anything can happen if they go on this 4 game stretch and they win all 4. I'm going to be singing a different tune myself.
Oh, everyone will. Everyone will. So before we get out of here, though, let's throw a prop bet out there. And even before the game Sunday, I might do another one. Just check out our social medias. Just maybe like more in depth, but give me one play that you like. It could be from the Bears game. It could be from the rest of the games. One bet you like this week.
All right. Well, I got I know we said one. I think Travis Etienne he's scoring, so you can mark that down. Whatever I tried looking, but whatever the pass prop is for Russell Wilson in this game, I know it's not going to be over 300. Take the over. He's going to hit it. I'm telling you, man. Even if the Bears beat him, he'll hit it. He'll hit over.
I'm right there with you. I'm actually going to stay in this game. I don't have the prop bets right in front of me, but I kind of don't. I don't want to say I don't care what the number is, but the line has been around 176, 180 ish in that range, but it's been Fields passing yards. I'm taking the over.
Woo!
I hit the over the first 2 weeks because the line is so low. It didn't hit last week. It was 99 yard. That throw that shit out. This is the Kansas City's defense. This is Denver's. So if his line is 160-ish, 170 range, I'm taking the over.
Well, you know what? Mike has a good point because when they played the Packers, he threw for 216. When they played Tampa, he threw for 211. So if it's at the 170 mark, that's not a bad take, honestly. So parlay that shit together. Russ over, Fields over, ETN to score. That sounds like a good parlay to me.
Yeah, I might put that in. Anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
So I did do a little bit of research on yardage by quarterback, and I took I don't know, 6 different guys. Fields has got 526 yards compared to Herbert's got 939. Tua's got over 1,000. Josh Allen has 728. Mahomes got 800. Jalen Hurts has 640. Russ has 791. The crazy part for me, not just about the yardage, Mike, is that his QBR is 34th in the league. 34th. How many quarterbacks we got in the how many teams are there? There's 32 teams, and he's 34th. That hurt my soul to look at that because when you look at Russ is 13th, and his QBR is 59. Fields is 21.
Wow.
Yeah. So
do not take that over. I was just joking about that shit.
I mean, if you're going based off the games, I mean, 2 of the 3 games he threw over 175. So Mike is saying if the line is at 175, 180,
Yeah,
go
definitely.
over. If it's more than that,
No.
back off that.
If it's over 190, I'm not taking it. But I just know because I've actually bet it all 3 weeks. So I've been seeing it's been consistent. I don't know why I took it last week. It's dumb fandom, but I don't know. That was a great stat. Yeah, that's honestly very depressing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
that was rough to write down. I had to double check that 3 times.
Well, we gave our game predictions. We're hoping everything somewhat comes together. Since they're so close, we've been hearing it. That's all I can say, man.
All right, Bears Nation. I hope you have a good week. And let's bear down.
Yep, we will see you guys Sunday after the game. Hopefully a win, man. If it's a win. I'm hopping on taking a shot. What do you say?
Well, unfortunately, I'll be at work.